In this episode of RGN Interviews in Lockdown, I'm talking to Midnight Sun Mining President and CEO Al Fabro. So Al, the big news for the company in the last year has been the joint venture and earn-in agreement with Rio Tinto for the Solwezi licenses in Zambia. So how did this deal really come about, and how transformational will it prove to be?
Well, we've been working in Solwezi for the past 7 or 8 years. It's a large block of land, about 500 square kilometers, and it's mostly undercover, so you don't get much outcrop. I've got very fortunate drilling geophysical or geochemical targets, but what we had problems with was continuity in the mineralization. We would get a hit. We think we have the structures figured out, and then we'd get misses where we thought we'd get hits, and then we'd get hits where we thought we would misses. So a lot of structural geology wasn't evident to us. So we decided to fly a VTEM survey and try and see what was going on. And it explained a lot of the reasons why we were getting hits where we got hits and misses where we got misses. But by the time we did that, we were out of money, and the stock was in the ash can. It was under 10 cents, and we had to make a decision whether to dilute the project or to dilute the shareholdings. And Rio Tinto had made us 3 or 4 offers in the past to do a deal because they really liked our geology, but none of them was sufficient in my eyes to do a deal. And we sat down at PDAC 2 years ago, and they said, write us a deal that you think we can live with and that you can sell to your shareholders. So I wrote them a deal, and it's basically the deal we did. We had to tweak it a little bit, but we went to London in May of that year, hammered out all the little details of it. And mostly I had to get comfortable with their exploration philosophy. Why were they dealing with Midnight Sun? Why did they want this project, et cetera, et cetera. And they came back and they said, basically, we think you have 3 shots to host a Rio Tinto sized deposit. And that was good enough for me. And so we decided to make the transition from doing it ourselves and diluting the company with raising lots of money to going back to Rio. They would make sufficient expenditures before they earn any interest. So they have to spend almost $20 million US before they earn a single interest in the property. And by that time, we'll know if we have a Rio Tinto sized deposit or not. You know, the fill in and the feasibility work notwithstanding, the early money tells you if you got something worth chasing. And so far, we're really happy with the relationship, and we think that they've done enough structural geology to figure out what's going on underneath this cover, and hopefully this program will bear fruit.
And so after a difficult period since striking the deal, what with the impact of COVID-19 globally, how welcome was it to announce earlier this week Rio Tinto starting its 2021 drill campaign?
Oh, it was good. I mean, the rainy season lasted a little longer than normal in Zambia, which is good news for Zambia agriculturally, and the dam. They go through brownout periods there if they don't get enough water in the dam to support them. So it's going to be a good year for Zambia, and it's a good year for Midnight Sun. So the delay is fine, because once the rainy season stops, we know you get 8 months of perfect weather. It might be the best climate on the planet. It's spectacular, 26, 27 degrees every day, very nice. So our guys are ready to go to work. They're going to have 3 drills going, 1 RC drill, 1 diamond drill, and 1 air core drill. And they're going to do a lot of work in the next 3 or 4 months. And the results of that work will dictate what transpires for the rest of the year.
And you mentioned trying to figure out what's underneath the cover, what kind of mineralization we're looking at here. So, you know, after Rio Tinto's campaign is complete, what do you hope to see in terms of the mineralization results from that campaign?
Well, first and foremost, we want to see a major size copper deposit, which would be in excess of 10 billion contained pounds of copper. That would be something that Rio could build as a standalone. So that's first and foremost. There's three different styles of quote unquote mineralization that we're getting on our concessions. There's a Kasanchi sort of like style up north in what we used to call the 22 zone. That's sort of been a little bit beaten up, that philosophy, so we'll hold back on that one. At Dumbwa, we have a huge soil anomaly that we've been unable to explain. There's been some analogies to Barrick's Lamona mine. We're going to commit 2,000 RC meters at Dumbwa this campaign, trying to explain that anomaly, because we're getting up to 0.8% copper in soils, and our best drill holes are getting 0.5 and 0.6. So there's nothing to explain such a strong soil anomaly. It's baffled lots of companies before us, and it's baffled us. And Rio thinks they've got an idea, so they're going to try that. And if not, then we could finally stick a knife in Dumbwa. And then we've got what we call Me Too. Me Too is about a 17-kilometer stretch on the western side of the Solwezi Dome. It's where we've had our best success. Our M1 discovery, if we drilled it off, and we could probably come up with a resource of somewhere between 25 and 30 million tons of maybe 1 to 1.5% copper equivalent. There's some cobalt in there, a little bit of gold in there, so we could drill that off, but that's not big enough for a Rio-sized target, and it really isn't big enough for worth chasing halfway around the world. So we're looking for something a lot bigger than that. But Me Too offers 5 or 6 different target areas along that 17-kilometer stretch where we could host a significant deposit. 4 years ago, we drilled our best hole ever drilled on the project, 12 meters of 4% copper with a third of a gram of gold in there, and a decent cobalt kicker. So, and that rogue hole has never really been followed up, and Rio's got some ideas on that. Adjacent to a huge geophysical anomaly, so that could be really interesting this year. And then we had another one, Kasiba, that we've got about a 6 or 7 kilometer strike, 2 or 3 kilometer dip, all in air core, but it's running between 0.25 and 0.5 copper for those big stretches in air core. So you're only getting 30 or 40 meter intercepts, but we got to see what's underneath there. So that's going to provide some interesting results, hopefully this spring.
Yes, and after a sustained period of low prices, copper has risen to around $9,000 per ton. And this is based on increasing demand projections as economies look to exit the COVID crisis, build more. So how are these growing fundamentals in the copper market really sweetening the position of Midnight Sun?
Well, there's nothing like rising commodity price with a brand new discovery. So if we're fortunate enough to make that discovery, you get a perfect storm, which is where takeouts happen, and that's why it would be significant to us. The reason we're chasing copper and big deposits is that what we know historically through copper is that if you get a big deposit, you're going to get 3 or 4 price cycles in a copper mine, where in a gold mine, if you're fortunate, you might get one good one, and it might not happen at the time you need it. So we feel comfortable being in copper. I mean, I'm not smart enough to go into all the fundamentals about copper and why it's going to $7 or $8 a pound or whatever. I think copper at $4 a pound is a terrific price for anyone who wants to produce copper, and there's great margins in it, and we're quite happy with $4 copper.
Yes, but on the flip side, perhaps, are you concerned at all about the prospects of your host government, Zambia, attempting to extract more fiscal revenues from project operators while the metal price remains high?
Yeah, I think they will take a pound of flesh, and they probably should. but I'd like to see them structure it where it's not just a percentage of the price, but a percentage of the increase of the price, so they can structure this as a win-win royalty as opposed to just a punitive royalty to the producers.
Yeah, that's rational. So, operating in Zambia, have you been able to lean on local companies during your preliminary exploration phases, in terms of partners and suppliers of products or services?
Yeah, we've done a lot of that. Our country manager is a native Zambian. We've used local council there. Our geologists, 2/3 of them came from there. All our workforce came from there. The people in Zambia, first of all, we love the country. People are terrific. They work hard. Super knowledgeable in mining. All the geologists we had were graduates of the Zambia School of Mines, and like really well educated. Like they became the teachers for our guys as opposed to the other way around. There was a give and take, but it's a terrific relationship, and we hope to continue. There is some the Zambian government can go do some things that seem a little irrational, and they get some headlines. I think for the most part, the Zambian government wants copper to work, and they're doing their best to make it work. But it's a big political football. I think it's fair to say that the Zambian economy goes from first world to third world, depending on the copper price.
Yeah. But finally, how pleased are you with the current route to shareholder value provided by the Rio Tinto JV earn-in agreement? And do you expect to see this reflected in a rewriting of your own share price?
I think eventually I do expect to see the share price re-rated, but assuming success. Their technical people are very strong. They're very motivated here. They feel very strongly that we're sitting on a very large discovery, and the discovery will re-rate the company. And the fact that a big company like Rio has committed large amounts of money to make that discovery without earning any interest, it's a significant bite. So I didn't want a third partner just to look up the dress. I wanted to make sure that if they were getting involved, they were going to take a hard look and make sure that there was they were going to find what was there.
Yeah. Al, thanks a lot for taking part in this episode of RGN Interview.
Okay, Jacob, nice to meet you, and good luck.
Yes, stay safe.
Okay, you too.